All right, today we're going to talk about the illusion of male authority. Take your finger, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you want content that I can't, when it comes out, okay, that I can't have on YouTube because of censors, get on my email list. There's a link in the description. Okay, so we're talking about a male authority and how that's an illusion. All right, since forever, okay, men have been trying to have authority over women, and men in the relationship have been trying to set up structures or systems where they're the authority figure. They have authority over women, meaning that when I say authority, I mean they are the decision maker, and they decide not only what happens to her or make decisions for her, but they think they have a level of control over her feelings, thoughts, emotions, and decisions that she makes. I'm here to tell you that that's all BS. Okay, men don't have authority. Even the most alpha man on the planet does not have an authority over his woman. All he has is influence. There's a big difference between the two, and you need to understand the difference, or you're going to make a lot of mistakes because of your own delusions. Authority is delusional. The reason I say that is because a woman, or any person for that matter, whether it's an employee or a subordinate at some workplace or whatever, they have to volunteer to give up their decision-making power to you, okay? So they have to agree to allow you to be in that position of power or authority. If they have to agree to that and at any point can disagree or not, follow your leadership, then you don't have authority. Not in the sense where you have control, okay? Now, the sooner you accept that, the easier your relationships with women are going to be. All right. So a lot of guys, they get into red pill stuff, or they start to understand some of the stuff, where they a lot of guys who are dominant or who want to be dominant think that they should have this authority over their woman, and that they have to try to execute things as if they have authority. And the thing is, though, again, they just don't. If you think you have authority over your woman, guess again, because if she can change her mind at any point, which they often do, then you don't have it, right? What you actually have is influence, okay? So we've been trying, this is long before any recent stuff, but this has been something that, if we want to talk about Muslim culture and religious cultures, Muslim culture having entire states with Sharia law where women are, where authority for decisions over women are given, so to speak, to the men. Even in those societies, those men don't actually have authority, because those women still have individual choice. And if they don't emotionally gravitate towards their man, if they don't want to follow him, if they want to defy him, they will, and they often do in those societies. Traditional conservatives, and Christians that think, because of the Bible, biblical structure, husband, head of household, that gives men, and that men have their authority over their wives. And that's proven time and time again that they really don't, because anytime the wife doesn't agree or doesn't want to follow the man's leadership, then she defies him, becomes emotionally distant, figures out a way around doing what he wants, or straight up stops listening to him, or argues and fights. You get what I'm saying? So there is none of that authority, even in sexual circles where women will get involved with dominant, dom-sub relationships or dom-slave relationships. We're talking BDSM style relationships. Those can be fun in a sexual sense, but she is giving up the sub, okay, the submissive is giving up her decision-making power and authority in her body, essentially, to the dominant. And although that's a lot of fun, and for both parties, it's consensual, and she can at any point not remove him as a dominant, in other words, and not allow him to have that authority over her. So if the other person, or if the woman can at any point not agree or follow with the man, then he doesn't have authority. That's an illusion. Setting up a structure like I'm the dom and you call me master, you call me daddy, and all those things, or I'm the head of household, I'm the husband in this Christian household, or we can just insert any structure. All they are illusionary structures that give the man a sense of authority that he really doesn't have, and maybe gives the woman a sense of buy-in and a sense of, a set of values to get behind, so she, allows that man to have the authority. But again, it's still all illusional. It's still all an illusion. Now, women do like to be dominated, calling a woman your little, we'll have to censor for YouTube, your little, garden tool, right? Or your little concubine, right? Telling her that her body parts belong to you, that sort of stuff. That's, sexual, hot, all that sort of stuff. But does her female body parts really belong to you? No, they really don't, right? Because she has the, she has the decision-making power to emotionally agree or disagree, logically agree or disagree, so on and so forth, right? And make decisions for herself or defer that decision-making to you. So this is really important because men get in these relationships, want to be alphas, some who are actually alphas, but don't understand women, okay, and don't understand, male-female dynamics. They have this illusion of authority. It's usually based on an insecurity, because men have that insecurity of being cucked, left, discarded by their woman, so they try to execute dominance, often in abusive relationship violence, okay, but try to execute dominance over their woman and try to execute this authority, but they really don't have that authority, okay? So what ends up happening is the downfall is a lot of guys, and she'll play along for a while when she's bought in, but when she's not bought in anymore because she doesn't want to be with you or she's mad at you or whatever, then you will find out very quickly that you do not have the authority that you thought that you had in that relationship. So this is really important because men like to delude themselves and have delusional behavior based on insecurities. And they think that they own or control or they have their woman. And really, they don't. They have influence. So you can influence your woman through frame control, through setting standards and boundaries, and when she crosses standards and boundaries, you withdraw your effort, time, energy, and so on, or, kick her to the curb, right? You can influence with your dominant alpha frame, your decision-making, but she requires emotional buy-in and desire and attraction towards you in order for her to give her decision-making power to you. So when she desires you, she has that emotional buy-in, meaning at an emotional level, she trusts you and trusts your decision-making, okay? Then what happens is you are essentially in charge. But add anything like that, like many things with women, add the words at the end of it, for now, okay, or today. So you're in charge of her today, okay? You're in charge of her for now, all right? But if you don't get that emotional buy-in from her, or like in the future, or she's not desiring you, or she's unhappy with you, or so on and so forth, that authority or decision-making power that you had before might no longer be the case at that point. She may stop deferring to you for answers and for leadership, okay? And this is if you set up an artificial structure, like a religious structure with ideas behind it, or BDSM sexual structure, or whatever, or no matter if you want to show up and try to be that angry alpha that you're going to keep your woman in line kind of thing, okay, yeah, when she's attracted to you and desiring you and she has emotional buy-in, she'll let you have it and she'll be happy to give that to you. And if she doesn't have that, you'll find out you don't have that authority at all. All right. Now, it's pretty, it's pretty hot, to claim ownership. Women love ownership and they love being led. So, we'll censor this for YouTube, but call her your little concubine or your little garden tool, or tell her her body parts belong to you, and right, stuff like that. That's hot, and she'll enjoy you making dominant decisions as a leader, not asking permission. These are all things that you do, but you do this because that's your influence. All right, you have influence, but don't think for a second though that you have authority that is unchallenged every single day, all day long, right? If you don't have the emotional buy-in and the desire from her, she will not allow you to have that decision-making power over her. She will not emotionally gravitate towards you. She will not necessarily like you, right? She will not, and she won't. She will defy your decisions. If she doesn't agree or doesn't like what you have to say or do, she will defy you. All right, and she won't necessarily maintain your boundaries or standards or whatever. She won't care so much about that anymore. Because if it was so perfect and so easy just to take away women's authority and rights and give them over to men, then all of these Muslim countries would have perfect relationships. But of course, we know that is far from the truth, right? We know that traditional conservative Christian relationships, traditional Muslim relationships, and these sexual BDSM relationships that attempt to convince a woman to give her authority up, they often fail. In fact, they fail just as often as conventional any other type of relationship. So why they wouldn't fail if authority was given to the man and he made all the decisions and she never challenged those decisions, right? But they do fail. And so that should tell you that authority is, in fact, an illusion. So when you handle your woman, when you handle your relationships, okay, when you handle women in general, do so with leadership and dominance, okay? But don't think and don't fool yourself or delude yourself into thinking that you have authority over this person. You do not. And this is why game is so important. Game is really just communication. It's communication to a woman, and it's communicating to her in her emotional centers and her primal, primitive, sexual centers of her brain. That's what game is. It's knowing how to communicate with a woman on those primal centers and emotional centers. That way you get the emotional buy-in. That way you get the desire from her, and you get that respect from her and that gravitation towards you. And that way, as a man, then she does defer to your leadership and she defers to your influence, okay? But if you approach your relationships thinking that you have any type of authority whatsoever, and most of that stuff will be based on insecurity, okay? That insecure thinking that you can't hold the frame and you can't hold influence over your woman based on who you are, so you have to set up some sort of rule, artificial structure, or execute, execute, I don't say violence, but execute asshole behavior to try to, pull her into your whatever, to execute that authority over her through being a dick or being, yelling at her or whatever, right? It just doesn't work. Okay, it won't work, it will fail. And so you want to do the BDSM thing, you want to do the traditional conservative thing, or if you're a Muslim person, you want to do Muslim relationship. Hey man, that's cool. That's fine. Do that. And in fact, some of those structures can help with holding frame and that emotional buy-in and stuff like that. If she has a set of principles to go by, you know what I mean? For some women, they like that and that can help. But again, do not assume though that because of that structure you have authority. You never did, and you never will. All right? It's all about influence, and again, influence is frame control, and that's game. So you learn those two things, and the quicker you abandon this idea that you have authority over women, or that you ever will, or that you ever had in history, okay, the quicker you abandon that illusion and get on board with the fact that you have to influence your woman through frame control and through game to get her emotional buy-in, the better and more productive your relationships with women will be. Thanks again.